All right. Good evening to those of you on the East Coast. Good evening also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks for joining us tonight. We having a slight little delay, but there's so much to get into. So I'm looking forward to, get into tonight's show. And of course, I will not be alone in talking about the news stories for this week in review, going over the news bits that have made the rounds in entertainment and the like. I want to welcome back who was on a bye last week, Mr. Spillman. Let me bring him on. What's going on, Chief?
What's going on, Brandon? How's it going today? I'm just so happy to be here in the second round
Without
where I
fail,
belong,
without fail, with the LA,
where we
without
belong,
fail,
where we belong. Y'all
without
know what time
fail.
it is, fans. I'm happy to talk about these topics this week, and I'm in a great mood. You know,
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you
that's
are
right.
for the time being. For the time being this week. And
Okay,
let's see
sure.
if it's still that way. If we
Yeah.
still feel that way next week. We'll see. We'll
Okay,
see.
that's
Uh
fine.
but be that as it may, as I said, welcome back. And there are a lot of things to get into. So let's just hit the ground running. Um to start off, on what transpired over the course of this week. Unfortunately, there was some sad news that happened this week, and that was around Harry Belafonte, passed at the age of 96. Harry Belafonte, what can you say? Is an icon in entertainment. Whether it's with what he's done as an activist, he's done in music, in film, and TV. It's an endless line of accomplishments and things that he has done. In his career, and the impact that he has had. Bill, as I said, full life, passed away at 96, but still, it's still a loss to, not have, his presence in entertainment as it stands now. So, what are your thoughts?
I just want to say that first and foremost, the scene, I think it's Carmen Jones, where he paints her toenails. That is a player move. If you ever want to impress a young lady, paint her toenails for her. You'll be the man. Trust me. I'm telling you the truth. I wouldn't lie to you. Harry Belafonte was a great, a great human being. He worked really hard for us as a people. He's done a lot. He was very involved in the movement. He did a lot with the civil rights movement. I think he was one of the funders of the March on Washington. Um, he always talked about keeping dignity and righteousness of self paramount. Had a great career in TV, movies, and music. It's just a loss. He lived a full life, like you said. It's sad when somebody dies, but making it to 96, you can't really complain at that. But I'm sad to see his passing, but he was definitely a pioneer. Um, you know, Also hashtag light skin mafia. Me, him, Steph Curry, we all in that same little crew. So, we doing big things like that. I'm saddened by him. What would you say is his most iconic role to you?
I mean, there's so many to think of, but I mean, one, it was, a fascinating, if I recall, that he was in, that was really fascinating to watch, is, I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm brain farting in the name of the film, but it starred John Travolta. It was called White Man's Burden. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah,
Where they kind of,
yeah.
did kind of an Elseworlds type of look at what race, if, you know uh it's white people were in the position of, black people during the time of the civil rights movement, and what that would look like if those roles were switched. And it had an interesting look and perspective of what racism, looks like. And kind of switching those roles, it gave an interesting perspective, and he was he's great in that, and as I said, there are a lot of firsts,
Hmm.
of things that he's done in terms of being an activist, of uh, playing a hand in the civil rights movement. It's very easy when a lot of times when individuals are put in resources and they quote unquote make it. There's a tendency or perception that a lot of times they forget. Where they forget the folks that they left that were that they left behind, so to speak,
Hmm.
in terms of being able to reach for their career aspirations, and that wasn't the case with him. um he very much used his resources for the betterment of humanity, for a multitude of causes, and like I said, one of the primary ones that come to mind is what was happening during the civil rights movement and with Martin Luther King and all that. So yeah, it's a shame, that he's no longer with us. However, just as you said, he lived a full life. 96 is a testament to a life well lived. I wish knock on wood that I'm able to live that long up until 96. So
For sure.
any final thoughts before we move on to our next topic?
Beetlejuice wouldn't have been as good a movie without him. We wouldn't have G's moving silence like lasagna without him. So, praise to the great Harry Belafonte.
For sure, for sure. All right, so switching gears to our next story, and on a lighter note of talking about some of the things that went down this week. We did get another look at the upcoming Transformers film known as Rise of the Beasts. So in the take a look at not only the Autobots, but of course the new of Transformers that we have with our beasts with Cheetah, and with a multitude of other Transformers that are in the shape of beasts. Man, like when it comes to Transformers, I enjoyed the first film. The second one was okay, but beyond that, it's been kind of like a mixed bag with this franchise. And I'll be honest, like I uh kind of basically took a break from Transformers. I know a lot of people have said that Bumblebee is good. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but from what we've seen with the trailers that are shown here, the prior one that we had, as well as this one, which is I feel is even better than the prior one. I'm not gonna lie. It looks rather promising. It takes me back to those days spills of Beast Wars. Used to come on
Oh
TNT.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um this new trailer, this latest trailer that we had that gave us a further look at not only the Autobots, some of the Decepticons, and they even teased in that trailer or a major character in the world of Transformers. So your thoughts?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want y'all to know I might be number, I don't know, let's say 58 of Transformers fans. Like of all the Transformers fans in the world, I might be number 58. So these are the movies that I really wanted to see because, as an elder millennial, I didn't see the original run of the Transformers when my brain could really understand them. Because, I was a small child. My parents would not let me watch things with guns in it. So, Megatron turned into a gun. That was terrible. Um, Then in the mid 90s to late 90s, this Beast Wars show came out and it was CGI. I think that Beast Wars resurrected Transformers because Transformers the first run, they just did those cartoons. That was it. They would rerun them because we would see them because I remember we was like first, second grade, so it's like 91, 92. They had
Right,
this,
right.
but for them to go for this, the Beast Wars, I think that this was the best option for them because the mythology that they weave the two franchises in together was really well done on the cartoon show back in the day. So it doesn't. It's not like, oh, these are just other Transformers. It's not like these are the Transformer cousins, like like with Care Bears or something, or Silverhawks and the Thundercats. Like, no, these two properties are intertwined and they have good interaction. I also thought from jump when they showed us the original Transformers, they look closer to how the Beast Wars Transformers look than to how the OG
Agreed.
Generation One Transformers look.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I was like, look, they need to do the Beast Wars because clearly these models that they're using look way better as animals than they do as like cars and stuff. Because like the models that they use for Optimus Prime and all them, it looks like something that could turn into a car, but it also looks like something that is a car half of the time, and then when they could pay for the CGI, it's a robot the other half of the time. So it's like kind of wonky, but definitely excited for it. My girl Dominique Fishback is in that. She was incredible in the Swarm TV show. She was also good in that show on HBO. I think it was called like The Link or something, and it was about like she was one of the early OnlyFans performers from the '70s, back when it wasn't on the internet. But we won't really talk about that because we don't want to get the platform. But no, Dominique Fishback is a great actress. She was in it, and then I think what's that? He's the Latino guy. If you've ever seen like the Crown Royal commercial where he and his mom is drinking Crown Royal in the kitchen. What else is he on? He was the new Mars Blackman on the new She's Gotta Have It movie. I don't know what that guy's name is, but he's in this
Yeah, I'm
movie
brain
too, and he
farting
looks
on
like
it too.
he's.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But you know what I'm talking. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's that guy because he's like the new guy, and he's in the movie too. So I think it's going to be a good movie. And they teased the Unicron, which is crazy. But they're probably going to have a movie about the Matrix and them using their powers and get the Matrix together. So I think it's going to be a good movie. How do you feel about it?
So, okay, so here's my thing. Like I said, there are a lot of, great things to take away from this from this trailer. Um there is see I was taken aback by how epic it is and what how much they were that it seems like they're throwing into this film. I thought it was just going to kind of be a kind of like another run, by the numbers like entry where, okay, they have some battle in the city, but no, like it looks really epic. I guess the only thing that I'm a little, shaky on, and this is probably just by virtue of the fact that I haven't really been keeping track of and yes, give a shout out to our viewer. Thank you, Michael. Yes.
He was in Hamilton too. Yeah, yeah,
Hamilton,
yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. There you go. But going back to Transformers, while it looks very epic, and this is, just by virtue of me kind of taking a break and a breather from the Transformers franchise, is correct me if I'm wrong, but it was supposed to be present day. I know they went back when they did the Bumblebee film. It was a prequel, if I
Yeah,
understand,
because the Bumblebee film took
when that
place in the
franchise.
'80s.
But it
Anthony
begs the question,
Ramos.
like, okay, if this is from what they were showing in the trailer, if this is supposed to quote unquote take place in the '90s, like where does that fit with everything else? And you telling me that all of this crazy stuff happened and no one knew about the Transformers until like years later in the early 2000s, unless they're doing like a really soft reboot. So that's the only thing that I hope there's some type of way in which they explain it, or maybe I just need to go back and check out, a better, explanation there. But that was a thing that really threw me when I was looking at the trailer. I was like, wait, 1994? Like I understand like the Bumblebee film was a prequel, but you guys haven't jumped that much in time, and you're telling me they had these huge crazy, and like no one knew who Transformers were that whole time after all of that? Come on. Like something doesn't add up. So like hopefully they explain it. Maybe they're off world. I don't know. Like, but visually, it looks really interesting. So, I'm willing to, give it another shot. Like I said, the first Transformers film I enjoyed a lot. It was awesome. I saw it multiple times, and then after that, it was diminishing returns after, those installments that followed. I mean, there were a couple in there that I recall that were okay. I think the Mark Wahlberg one was okay, if I recall, that he starred in one of those installments. But outside of
Yeah.
that, the first one will always be my favorite that came out. So, any additional thoughts before we uh skip to our next story?
No, I just want to say that this will be the best one, I think, because the like you said, the epicness of it, the way that they did that Beast Wars TV show was ridiculously epic. Like, and it was like one of the first CGI shows, so that's what made it special. So I think
Yeah,
that they're not gonna mess around with this one. And this is one of the first shows where the fans had a real input on it. Like there was like little Easter eggs in that Beast Wars show that were just about people, because Transformers was like the original nerd thing on the internet. Like because it was only that original run, and people would talk about it at nauseum on the internet. They had all kinds of like GeoCities web pages and stuff. So if they mess this up, they're gonna piss off the nerds real bad. So they're not gonna mess this one up. I think they're gonna do the real and have these characters doing their thing. So we'll see.
we will see. We will see indeed. So to switch gears into our next story, over the course of this week, filmmaker Fede Alvarez dropped a picture of the upcoming film that he's doing. A little small independent film, another aliens film, if you will. So he dropped this on his social media on Alien Day, which happened this week. And just to tease that he has started shooting the new Alien film. Right now as it stands, there's not a lot of details in terms of what the film is about. It won't be the standard fare of what we've seen in other installments, as it apparently the little information that we have gotten about this film is that it will follow a group of young characters, and of course, in some type of shape or fashion, they will have their run-ins with the xenomorphs. If you guys are If the name sounds familiar, Alvarez actually directed the remake of Evil Dead, which I myself, I enjoyed quite a bit. It is quite a film. It is quite an experience, to say the least. If any of you guys have seen it, Spillman, you see the news of this new film, this new installment in the Alien franchise starting, and what are your thoughts on us, getting more aliens?
I just want to know if this movie will be back to aliens and not to like the proto aliens from the Prometheus thing. Like, because the
So from
Prometheus
what I
thing,
understand, it's going to be completely separate from what they're doing with the prequel, what they kind of did with those prequel films. So it isn't
hmm
going to be connected to those films. It will be produced by Scott. So if, for
okay,
those of you out there, Ridley Scott, the original, director of the franchise, he will be producing it, but it won't be continuing what he was doing with the franchise previously in the last installment.
okay, and then so this is my thing. I like the opportunity, I liked actually. I think Ridley Scott did that show on HBO Max, um, where they're like, it's not about
Oh, I know
aliens,
you're
but it's
talking about.
like,
You're talking about
what's the name of the
the
damn show?
wolves. I know you're
Raised
talking.
by Wolves.
Yeah, yeah, that show's
Raised by
terrific.
Wolves.
Anyone who hasn't watched
Oh,
that show, it's
you like that
weird.
sci-fi?
It's
Oh,
very weird,
so
but
weird, but it's
like
like
it's
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 crazy.
such it's such an interesting show. Like the
Yeah,
stuff that happens in that show and like thematically the things that they do. There is some
definitely.
DNA of like alien stuff in
It's
there.
definitely some alien stuff in there, but it's
It's
not
definitely
too
like you could
alien-y.
tell that there's some
Yeah,
inspiration from like the alien type of mythology, but no, it's I mean it still holds on its own. It's a really interesting series, so I definitely recommend it for you guys who haven't seen it.
for sure. So if he is going to do something similar to that show, if it's in that same, not even saying that it has to be that show, but like because Ridley Scott has been doing really good with building that out a little bit, I guess. Everybody's building a universe now, so the universe he's been building out has been pretty good. But hopefully he need. Oh, they canceled it. But what? We're not gonna find out what
Yeah,
that
that's
snake
right.
thing was
You know what?
doing.
That's absolutely right. They did do that. They
I'm
did.
just you,
Because
hey,
I
Michael.
remember they left it on such a weird the last season, they left it on such a weird ending where I was like, "Okay, how are they gonna pick that up?" And I remember being disappointed to find out that we may never get a solution to the way that they ended it because
What's
it,
going
it
on with
went
that
ended
damn
in such a
snake?
random spot. So
Oh my god.
hopefully it does actually get picked up. Hopefully it does get picked up elsewhere. You see it a lot of times that, you have a series that, it ends its run somewhere or in one place and then maybe picks it up someplace else. So hopefully,
Oh
it
my
will
gosh.
happen in for Raised by Wolves because that is a very underrated show for
I
anyone who
just
has not seen it.
I am floored, ladies and gentlemen. You know how you find out something like I like felt like I just found out a dear friend passed away suddenly. Like, what do you mean he's dead? I feel that way now. Thank you, Michael P. But I just, ladies
You
and
see
gentlemen,
the I was gonna say speaking of Alvarez's other other films, have you seen the other it came out a little while ago, a little over oh gosh, it's been a little while,
maybe
but
5 years.
the prior Evil Dead film.
Yeah, I saw that one. I think I
Yeah,
saw it in
yeah.
theater.
Like I
This,
said, that
this is
joint was an
pre-pandemic.
experience.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think he'll be fine if he needs some 6'7" dudes to look scary. I could be an alien if he wants me to. I could be on set being an alien, scaring people. I don't have no problems doing that. Because I'm real good at coming around the corner looking scary. That's my favorite thing to do to people is come around the corner. They're like, oh, I didn't see you there. It's like, haha, you didn't know I was there. I'm going to scare you. But no, I'm interested in it. The alien stuff has been good. Even the Prometheus stuff, even though it's weird, has been good. Like they captured like a lot of the tenets of the world, even though,
But here's my thing, like, and I agree with you. Like they did some interesting stuff with those two films, but at the same time, like there's something to be said whenever you're doing iconic that some of the things one of the things that make those characters work is the mystery of their origin.
that's
And
true.
sometimes it takes away from the fear that you have of those creatures, of those characters if you know too much about them. Like I feel like there's a temptation and there's a love of it seems like of trying to to know everything about everything. Sometimes it's good to have a little mystery. Sometimes you don't need to know everything there is to know about the character. If we're talking about comics, a good example would be Wolverine. We don't need to know his entire origin.
Nope.
Mind you, his origin when it was done was interesting, but at the same reasons people gravitated towards that character is because the mystery of his origin. The same goes with the aliens. I feel like by trying, to and I mean, it's not to say that they didn't, try to find interesting ways to kind of capture that origin, but I feel like based on what we got, it made what we received as the origin for the aliens didn't, and I don't know if it's going to make any sense or not, but it didn't seem as monumental or as epic as I was originally picturing it to be. So to make it as like, and I'm getting into spoilers now, but the movie's been out for a couple of years, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So deal with it.
You
Is to have the android, the David, kind of be the progenitor, the creator of this race, felt like it made the story far smaller than what it had the potential of being. Like if it
right,
was something, far more drastic where, if you still wanted to incorporate, the playing God part and the science and them being created somehow, or what is it? Uh Not manufactured, but made in some created in some type of way in a lab, fine.
yeah.
But I feel like it should have been far more epic in terms of how they executed how that creation was made than what we got. And so I'm interested to see what Alvarez does, with this installment. It'll be nice to actually have, and it's not to say that I don't enjoy the character. I love the character of Ripley, but it's kind of similar in the same way that we have with what is it with the with the Star Wars franchise, in that,
They keep dragging Luke
they keep
Skywalker out
dragging the
there every
Skywalkers in
daggone
there.
thing. Come on.
Like, we don't need the Skywalkers constantly in Star Wars. Like, it's okay to do a story outside of Skywalker. So, in that same respect, I'm interested to see what they do outside of Ripley, and they've done it in the in the prequel films too. But it'll be interesting to see what they do here.
But
And
they
like I
had
said,
they
I'll
had
go
Russian
ahead.
Ripley. They had the same thing. It's that I agree with. They need to like spice it up, I guess. But I think they should get back to where the aliens are actually scary instead of just
Yeah,
like
I agree.
they
Instead of
like
focusing
in the
so much
last,
on
yeah, they've
all
made them
this.
like Jurassic Park animals. Like Jurassic, like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park aren't as scary as they are like just wild animals. And it's like it would suck to be in a room with a wild animal that could eat you, but I don't feel that they're evil in any kind of way. But like with those alien movies, always it felt like the aliens was purposefully eating these people, and it was like a hive thing. And I just hope that they get that part right. Like even Aliens 2, when them aliens took out all the Marines, that was very malicious. That those aliens in that movie were
And I
like
mean, I would argue this. I would say I would argue this. It would have been far more interesting if they were a species that are, and maybe, if you wanted to bring the signs into it, that we tampered with their DNA slightly, and then they evolved into what we know them to be. I'm writing it for you guys, but for y'all out there. But like, it would have been interesting because they kind of did it like in the last film of showing is a passion that they continue to evolve. It would have been interesting if maybe they had another form that's how they were how they were in originally conceived in nature. That's how they were as a species, and then maybe, the engineers, came across them, and, basically, decided, oh, okay, this species, maybe we should do something with them and maybe make them better than what they are. And so we'll, take them into the lab. Or even if he still wanted to add the android angle, maybe he discovered them, the species, and then decided to, you know, engineer them, to be slightly different. And then they somehow went back into nature, back out into the wild, and evolved some more. So I don't know. Like, I'm willing to give the franchise a shot. Like, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I'm a fan of what Alvarez has done with his, prior filmography as a filmmaker. So, I'm willing to give it a shot. Did you have any, final thoughts on this, new installment?
I just hope that the people in this movie know what the aliens are before, because it seems like a cliche in every movie that they're like, this thing is on this guy's face. He's going to be fine. Like, no, there's no case anywhere. Like, I can't think of anything where if I saw, like, let's say we was out somewhere and I heard you say, and you fell, and then I turned you over and you had some thing on your face, I would not think it'd be okay. I would not think it'd be fine. I would not think that, let's take him back to our living quarters. I'd say, no, this is an animal on you or something. We got to get rid of him. He's gone for. So that's what I'm talking about. I like the ideas. The Evil Dead reboot was pretty good, so I'm just excited to see it. Are you still there?
Yep. No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, because yeah. But no, I just think that it'd be good. Um, I like the Aliens franchise. They need to get back to. I think that because the original Aliens movie was a feminist power movie, like women were good in it. They've done a little bit to make the men be less important in the movies and recently, but I think that the thing that made Aliens the scariest is that it impregnated men. Like an animal coming on your face, like getting on your face and then putting an egg inside you and then leaving, and you got to raise the egg essentially through your own flesh and blood is horrifying to me. I can't
Yeah.
imagine something like that happening to my body. So to make it more, because it was more women in the last two movies, and like that is scary that the women were getting eaten up by the aliens, but that the aliens put an egg inside you is just crazy. So that's
Yeah, I
interesting,
mean,
and
it
I
plays with that
just
idea of reproduction, which is,
you're right.
yeah. So, um, as I see what comes of it, because I'm a fan of his filmography. So we'll see what happens for sure.
Right.
But switching gears, and I'm sure you want to uh dig into this because you wear
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
talking a little bit about the NBA playoffs. Man, we had some interesting results that transpired in the NBA playoffs. Let me see if I could bring it up now. And I want to start first to talking about the Western Conference. We did get some updates to some of the matchups that we're getting going into the semifinals, the conference semifinals. Of course, we have my team, the Warriors. They
They
are
still in
going
the
up.
first
They've been going
round.
up
What are you
against the
talking about?
Kings, and they've been going.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've been going toe
first
to toe with
round.
the Kings and been splitting games back and forth. So, it looks like that's going to go to game 7. But Spill's team, the Lakers, congrats to them. They did advance to the semifinals after, closing out their series with the Grizzlies. Um, Now, it's been interesting to see, in terms of the coverage of with a lot of these games, what has been getting attention, what hasn't. And I want to say it's probably just due to the storylines, the narratives that you have with each of these series. Because like with the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, I feel like we didn't get a whole lot of coverage of that. But I mean, I guess it wasn't really that exciting, seeing that they basically did a gentleman's sweep of the Timberwolves.
Right.
And the same goes with the Suns. Like I feel like the Suns, it got a little bit of coverage, but it seems like most of the coverage has been going to these series that have such fascinating narratives. Because I mean, what if we're talking about the Grizzlies and the Kings? There was so much hoopla with the Grizzlies at the beginning of the season of them talking about they're going to go through everybody and
Oh,
and
it's
saying
a
that they
parade
weren't
in my
worried about the
city,
West.
yeah.
They weren't worried about the West. So Spills, I know you got a lot to say, so I'm going to pass the mic over to you, sir. I know you want to talk your Lakers, so go ahead. I'm gonna give you the space to do so.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to look at the screens because it's going to come back up in just a few moments. But I just want y'all to know that the Lakers are coming. Like The only team I worry about is this.
There you
Okay,
go.
let's get
There
it.
you go.
Let's get it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You see it. You see what time it is. Lakers. They brought the man out last night. Let's talk about that for a second. This is a movie podcast. They brought possibly the biggest movie star of our lives, possibly the biggest movie star of our lives, Jack Nicholson. He came to the game. He was happy. They put him on a jumbotron because the Lakers know how to treat people. We know how to treat people. We know how to maintain good working relationships. But I just want y'all to know we're gonna beat the Warriors if we play them. So Brandon's gonna be sad for the next 2.5 weeks. We're gonna whoop up on his team. Then we're going to the conference finals. I'm worried about the conference finals, but I'm not worried about the semis. So we
Okay,
will
I
see,
like that.
ladies and
You already
gentlemen.
have him playing against the Warriors. I like that. I like that. Okay, okay. I see
I
you.
mean,
I
I don't think that you
appreciate it.
guys
I
can't.
appreciate
I
the
don't think
respect.
that you guys can't. I can't. I don't think that you guys won't be able to beat the Kings in that game 7, even though it's in the Kings' house, because y'all have played way too many game 7s to lose to somebody like the Kings. It's not teams like the Warriors team. Even though people try to say the dynasty is shaky and stuff, they did win 4 championships. So if you won 4 championships with that core and there's some space between them a little bit, they'll be all right. They're gonna win game 7. I know that they're gonna do what they have to do to win game 7, and then they'll lose in 6 to the Lakers. So I'm just excited for it. Um, then we'll go over to the conference finals and we'll play the Suns. But maybe we'll play the Nuggets. I hope we play the Suns. But I mean, I actually hope we play the Nuggets because I don't think that Anthony Davis likes very much that they've been giving um, the Joker so much of this shine. So I'm just ready. I just think that the Lakers are going to kill. We'll be good. In the East, um,
Well,
I
let's
guess
save it
I
for the
got
East. We got the East next. Let's save
okay.
the East
Okay, we
for a
got the East
second.
next,
But
but no,
going
I think the
into
Lakers are just the Suns. Obviously, are the team to beat, and the number 2 team is the Lakers. I don't know about your Warriors. Y'all got a lot of problems. Your players don't play all the time, or when they do, they're committing assault on human beings. So I don't think y'all are ready to win.
oh man, the
Why would
irony
they?
that you bringing up all these points is just reminding me the Lakers season has been going, and how unreliably you've had players that have not been healthy. So and props to AD, props to AD that he's been balling out. I'm gonna give props where props are due, but I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on it. I'm looking at that clock. I'm waiting on it between him and LeBron. I'm gonna see who goes down first because I don't believe they're gonna make it through. I do not believe
So
they're gonna make it through. Now, here's my theory, or here's my prediction of what will happen. I have my Warriors going game 7 and closing out that series. I have them closing
right.
out the Kings. Now, once they close out the Kings, I'm gonna give props where props are due because I feel like the size that the Lakers have can be troublesome.
Oh,
So
it's gonna be a whole
so
problem for
so
y'all.
I will give props where props are doing that. But at the same time, there still ain't no answer for Steph. There still ain't no answer for Clay. And there still ain't no answer for how deep the bench is with the other players that we have in that rotation. So I have that series going to game 7. So I have that series going to game 7. I'm going to give the Lakers 3 games, but I still have the Warriors closing it out. It's going to be a hard fought series that's going to go 7 games. Now,
7 games. I don't believe
determining
that.
factor that I'm picturing is going to happen during the semifinals. And we'll look back on this like, dang, how'd you know? I have a feeling based on the fact that it's going to be such a hard fought series and it's going to be so tooth and nail going to game 7 that those injuries are going to start sneaking up again. Either AD or LeBron are going to get injured somehow. Like something's going to happen where because of how hard fought the series is, that I don't know if their bodies are going to be able to play through it. So I have us going 7 games with the Lakers, and we're going to close out the Lakers in game 7. Now, Going to the Suns, that's a completely different animal. That's a wild card.
That's
That
a
one I don't know.
whole different
That one
beast,
I don't
ladies and
know.
gentlemen.
That one I don't know because y'all they have a couple of weapons, but at the same time, they're very top heavy in terms of the players that they got, and they don't really have a bench. So it's really going to be dependent, on the other players in our rotation to pick up the slack because it's not going to be solely one with the starting lineups of those two teams. So that's going to be the wild card there is that conference final. But I have them getting past the Kings, the Warriors getting past the Kings, and I have them going tooth and nail with the Lakers just because of the size factor. But again, the health factor I think is going to play a role in us being able to close out that series. So, um, other than that, like I said, it's going to be a wild card. I have the Suns out of the Suns or the Warriors getting out of the Western Conference. And I know, I know Lakers.
No,
Right,
man.
right, right,
I'm
right.
telling you.
All right. So I know you
I
wanted
can
to get
taste. I can taste a finals preview this year. I mean, birth this year. I think that this is the year because Anthony Davis, he was talking like he's really frustrated with all you people calling him street clothes all year long. He's not playing with y'all. He's
hey,
playing volleyball.
if the shoe fits, like
He was
hey,
playing
that's how it's
volleyball
been.
last night
That's
and
how it's
has been
been.
playing volleyball.
That's
So,
how it's been. I'm
it's
not
been that
saying that
way.
he can't play.
It
Like
ain't no
he's
fun.
mad props.
Wouldn't have rather got
AD
the
has
gun.
game like
No.
80. When he's healthy, he's among the top players in the league. But again, reliability and health. And so if you know that you have a tendency of getting injured, then you need to make sure you're putting in that work to do so. And a lot of times, which I feel like that's why he got the nickname that he did, what you talk about with street clothes,
Oh,
it doesn't seem like a lot of times like he's doing so, to, ensure that his body is sturdy enough to withstand an entire season. So I don't know.
we'll see. But I just want everyone out here in Movers and Shakers land to remember how Brandon was talking to me when I first started on this podcast. You remember how bad he was talking about LeBron and our boys? He was talking about us like we were chopped liver. Look at us now. We're on top of the world in the second round as a seventh seed.
Wow, congratulations. You got
That's right.
past the first round. Wow.
That's right.
Congratulations. Okay. All right. So moving on to the Eastern Conference, I know you had some thoughts on this. So, I'll put it over to you again because I know you wanted to hop into this. So, what are your thoughts on what we have the Eastern Conference? There have been, some surprises. Man, the
The
Bucks losing.
Bucks.
What?
I've been
What?
telling people. I've been
What?
telling people that's a one man team.
That
That
one's
is a
crazy.
one
The other
man
ones are
team.
pretty much played out how how we how I was picturing it will play out outside of maybe Miami. But yeah, outside of that, all the other series is pretty much for the most part played out how I was picturing it would. But man, thoughts, man. Like I said,
I'm
crazy.
excited. Let's first start. I know that the viewers, some of y'all got to be Knicks fans because it's 8 million of y'all out there. So congratulations to the Knicks for making it to the second round for the first time since like
Yeah, props.
1996
Congratulations.
or seven. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. They ain't been to the second round in God knows how long. So happy for them. Um, I think Joel Embiid has the same kind of chip on his shoulder that that Anthony Davis has had. That he's tired of people talking bad about him and acting like he can't play. So I think that again, Philly is the team to beat. He'll be the MVP this year. If um, Embiid is playing that drop step, I'm a dunking on you game like he thinks he's Shaquille O'Neal, the league is in trouble. But
Well, I have the
we will
Sixers.
see.
Reason being is that so many times, and this is, in speaking to how talented, the Celtics are and all the pieces that they have, a lot of times they don't play to their competition. And,
Mm-hmm.
or should say they play down to their competition is what I
Yeah.
want to say is a lot of times if it's a team that they are expected to be able to beat, a lot of times they are not they don't get through those teams or win those games that they're supposed to win. And so that becomes a dangerous thing when we're talking about it in over the course of a series. So like I have them winning maybe 2 games, and I actually have the Sixers pulling that one out because, like you
Wow.
said, there's a lot that Embiid is trying to prove, as a player. Um,
Hmm.
and the Celtics have been there. They were in the finals, so they may kind of sleep. I feel like they're may sleep on the Sixers because they ahead to the finals versus focusing on the opponent that they have in the current round. So, I think there might be a potential there for the Sixers being able to advance past them and get into the finals. But I don't know. Maybe you have the Celtics getting through.
I don't have the Celtics. I think it's going to be no, it might be the Celtics because it's Philly, New York, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, according to what we
And
have
it's
here, like I said, we have the Sixers and the Celtics in the semifinals currently as it stands, and we have the Heat in New York. Man, that takes me back to the
that Heat,
'90s.
New York. Yeah, that's right. That's why I wanted to
Man,
talk
those
about
Tim
this also.
Hardaway,
Oh yeah,
Patrick Ewing, Allen Houston days.
yeah, where they hated each other. So I'm excited for this. I think that
I don't think they're
the
going to have an answer for Jimmy
Celtics
Butler. I don't know. That
they
might be an interesting series.
I think that will be an interesting series because they got a lot of athletic forwards and stuff on the Knicks, so they might be able to throw different schemes at them. So we'll see that, but you
True,
know, it is what it is.
true. All right. Closing the book on what we have there with the brief discussion that we had there on the NBA playoffs. We'll try to keep track of what's going on as the weeks go by. But but
That's right,
going
ladies and
into
gentlemen. Second round.
another story that I thought was fascinating, that is also centered in the world of the NBA. And this was the prospect that was brought up by Kevin Garnett during an interview this week and talking about uh, the prospect of bringing up the idea of doing a rap tournament. So, in an interview, in an interview that he had over the course of this week, um, it was an interview that he had with L.A. Clipper guard Bones Highland. Um, he was quoted as saying, and this is in the, as I said, a recent interview with this player. In today's game, it's over 40 MCs in the league. I'm talking about music. I ain't talking about b-ball. I'm talking about rhymers, uh, players that could rhyme that y'all didn't even know that's in our league. I think that over 20 rap labels in our league owned by players that you wouldn't even know. I'm telling Adam Silver on the Friday night after the rookie game, $1 million purse. You're going to take 10 rappers. They're going to sign up themselves, and you're going to go 4 rounds, and then two at the end, and then one will win the million. So, what are your thoughts on this prospect that Garnett has, or this idea that Garnett has of potentially doing a rap tournament with NBA players, MCs that NBA players who also happen to be MCs going at it, battling it out for $1 million? What are your thoughts? Not that they really need the $1 million, but still maybe perhaps the bragging rights.
Yeah. So I don't know if I like this idea. I think that if you were good enough to be a rapper, you would be a rapper. Clearly, basketball is your lane. Um, there's only ever been one platinum rapper, and it was Shaq. And I feel like Shaq only went platinum because he's Shaq. He's not like Dame Lillard or any of these other two
Dame
name
Lillard is the only
basketball
one that I can think
players.
of offhand that actually I feel is a decent enough rapper. But outside of that, I
Right.
can't really picture anyone else. I mean, I looked it up, and there are some players that are listed and considered to be rappers or MCs, so to speak. But man, like there aren't that even in those that were named. I was still it was still kind of questionable and kind of suspect. I was like, really? Are they an MC? Like, really? Like, I don't. I mean, I think they had Allen
I
Iverson
think
on
they're
there.
just master of ceremonies, not really rappers.
They
They're
had Tony
masters
Parker
of
on there.
ceremony. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some of the, some of the videos, so to speak. I'm gonna see if I could try to, share some of them here because I'll put the link, in the description because they basically gave a breakdown of some of these, um, like some of these past, songs or that a lot of these players have had in the past, and still like the only one that I can comfortably say that have been I've looked at their prior looked at them do their prior songs and rap. I'm like, okay, Lillard got a little something, but outside of that, like I can't.
No
Okay, I think I
thanks.
found it. So let me see if I can share this now. Let me see. Hold on 1 second, folks. Here we go. Found it. So I'm gonna put this up on the screen for you guys to see because they give you a breakdown of some of these songs. Let me see that these players have done, and they give you a breakdown of as I said, the players along with singles that they've had. Of course, we have Damian Lillard, who we see here. But they give a breakdown of some other players. So Damian Lillard, Shaquille O'Neal, of course.
Hmm.
Um, Going down the line, some other players I didn't even know were, did that rapped, Marvin Bagley, um, Iman Shumpert. So I mean, you have other folks, players here, Steven Jackson.
Hmm.
So I mean there have been players that have rapped in songs and are would classify themselves as MCs, but again, at the end of the day, the only one for me that I really consider to be in that category would be Damian Lillard. I
Yeah,
don't know what your thoughts are on it, but that would be the only person that I can, comfortably say that, if you put him in, among some other, MCs that, not to say that he would win, but he would be able to hold his own if he's in, another track with some other artists. So
for sure, for sure. But still, it's kind of hard to hear music from someone who's dedicated their life to not music. Like, I get that some of them got freestyle skills and stuff, but they need to focus on the All Star game, making them play defense, having the good players be in the dunk contest, and to
agreed, because that All-Star game was not great.
and change the rules back. Like, I know we're doing the thing for Kobe and Gigi. I love them and everything, but come on, man.
I miss the days when All-Star games were still competitive. Like, I'll never
Right.
forget when we had the All-Star game here in the nation's capital. And, we had, I think this was like Jordan's, if I recall, Jordan's last All-Star game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, I want to say it went into overtime, if I recall. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and like the players were actually playing. They were playing to win, not playing just to, just do kind of like a warm up or exhibition game, not which is what it feels like, at least most recently in their last game. So, um, but yeah, do you have any like final thoughts before we, get into our next story?
No, they need to put out better games instead of find this like random content because instead of having Dame Lillard spit a hot 16, have him get a 50 in the dunk contest, and you'll have the eyes of the people that you need. So that's all I got to say.
For sure, for sure. So this week there was, again, unfortunate news. I know earlier we were talking about Harry Belafonte, but we did have another passing that happened this week, and that's none other than iconic talk show host Jerry Springer, passed
God
away.
bless.
Um, due to pancreatic cancer, died at 79. Of course, many of us, remember his, insane talk show of all the craziness that would, happen and transpire, on a show, so much so that it became like a phenomenon and actually even spawned a movie. I remember that. Was it
Oh yeah.
Ringmaster? Crazy that the popularity of a crazy talk show can spawn an entire movie, and the movie, if I recall, actually didn't do too bad in the box office either.
Oh
But
yeah.
like, um, yeah, like as I said, it, it's unfortunate, not to, have a Jerry with us anymore. Being able to check out, as I said, the craziness that would transpire on the show, and then, of course, he would always have his, final thought that he would always have at the tail end of his shows.
Yeah.
Spillman,
So
your
I
thoughts?
just think that the passing of Jerry Springer was really horrible. Jerry Springer was, a lot of people my age, our age's introduction to alternative lifestyles of people that, you know, aren't really or weren't at that time promoted on television. I think that Jerry always, even though people fought on his show and stuff, he always tried to maintain that he had the show be based on some kind of human dignity and
Yeah,
compassion for human beings. He always would tell people that, like, especially cheaters and stuff, he'd be like, why can't you just be honest with this person? We get you cheating on them, but if you're honest with them, I think it'll go a lot further in this relationship and you'll be a lot closer and happier. So I think that he always came from that. Most people don't know he used to be the mayor of Cincinnati, which is pretty cool. Um, but Jerry lived a full life. Uh, Probably the number two talk show out of the '90s behind Oprah's talk show, but
yeah.
definitely changed the mold on how we watch television. Probably his show is probably the reason why so many people are interested in, like, reality shows where people are throwing drinks in each other's faces and acting real catty and talking down on them and everything. I think a lot of that has the origin of Jerry Springer. So sad to see him go, but great man.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of his career and how he ends up becoming a talk show host is really fascinating. I definitely encourage you guys to look into that of how he got into becoming a talk show host, and
Right,
also beyond that of just like you were saying, just that idea that even among the craziness and the insanity that often happened on the show, he tried to still reflect on what the subject matter of what each of those shows were, and tried to bring some sense of normalcy and
right,
reason within the insanity that often happened. And he didn't seem like he was a talk show host that took himself very he didn't take himself too seriously. Like he had a nice sense of humor and was able to reflect on things from an interesting perspective, or provide an interesting perspective in otherwise you know insane situations that often transpired on his show. And
crazy.
so, yeah, and to still be able to accomplish that and not lower, I feel like, lower yourself to that same level as that of the guests that you have on the show,
Right,
still is a balancing act, and it's not easy to do, because it's very, I feel like it's if other people are observing it on the show, there's a temptation of, okay, maybe, like, just like the guest, like, I need to be as crazy as the guest or insane as the guest, and it wasn't that way. So
right.
um it it's a bummer, that he's gone, because, like, I remember, growing up with that show, it always used to be like, oh man, what's going to be in this new episode of Jerry Springer, or what
Right.
did you? It was always like a cooler talk, And mind you, you talking about cooler talk, as if we were, in the workforce at the time. Like I was still in like elementary and middle school, but like it was still actually even talk at school. Like, yo, did you see the last episode of Jerry Springer? Or did you see this
Oh
episode
yeah,
of blah 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 blah? So like even in school, like you may not have the cooler talk, but you had, the talk during lunch or like, why uh whenever you guys had an opportunity of talking about, some of the crazy show. As I said, rest in peace. Passes at 79, but you know, one of a kind will definitely, be missed for sure. Any last
yeah.
thoughts or last words, final words, so to speak?
Take care of each other. That's what he always used to end the show with. I think it's sad, but you know, life has to go on, and we got to take care of ourselves. But you know,
For
I
sure.
love the show. You know, a lot of concepts, like I said before, were introduced to me because of the show. I didn't really understand what transgender people were before that. I didn't really understand like a lot of things about human interaction that, you know, if you can peep it early enough, will save you a lot of money and time investing in somebody who's lying to you. So I think it was a good show ultimately.
Sure. For sure. So again, rest in peace, Jerry Springer. So, all right. So the next story that I wanted to get into, and this is regarding one of my favorite comedies from the early 2000s, and that's none other than Dodgeball. So, there was
Oh,
this week that we are getting a Dodgeball 2. We have a Dodgeball 2 coming. Vince Vaughn will be starring in the film. Right now, details about like the plot and things of that nature are still haven't been revealed as of yet. And the prior films, the original films, the director has yet to be confirmed to be returning. But there's such a multitude of cast members that can potentially come back. Of course, you see Ben Stiller here, who was the antagonist. Um, here in the promotional photo that you see here from the original film,
right.
but the they would be producing it this year and would release it next year, which, man, this really feels like it's aging us, guys. Like it's hard to believe it's been that long.
We're
If
washed up.
with them trying to release it next year in 2024, that will mark the 20th anniversary of the first Dodgeball film. So,
Wow.
you hear this, Spillman. It's crazy to believe that it's been that long. It's been 20 years. I can still watch this film right now and still laugh like uh, it, laugh, laugh myself, to, and I know there's an expletive there, but I'm not going to say it. But
That's right.
man, like it's such a funny film. So, what are your thoughts on us getting another installment? I have my thoughts on waiting this long to do the installment, but I'll put it over to you to start.
No, I don't think so. First, we got to say R.I.P. to the homie Rip Thorne, who was Patches O'Houlihan in the movie. He
Yes, yes,
unfortunately
yes,
passed
indeed,
away
yes,
before we could
indeed.
get this movie, and he originated possibly one of the funniest lines ever uttered in movies. There's five rules to dodgeball: dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. It's like, hold on, you said the same thing twice in that list, so it's really only four things. He's like, no, we need you to make sure that you know that you have to dodge twice because it's too much dodging in dodgeball to not be dodging, which is a lot of ways to say dodging over and over again. But I'm interested in this movie. Um, you know, it was a great movie for sight gags. You know, just like the scene where Ben Stiller gets picked up from Vince Vaughn's girlfriend's house,
Yeah.
and it's
The
Michelle, his friend, that picks
motorcycle.
him up, and he gets on a little motorcycle. Hilarious, hilarious.
Hilarious.
So I'm just excited for this. It's a great movie, the
Nobody
original.
makes
So
me bleed. Nobody.
nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Laser, Blazer, Mazer. It's like, hold on, man, you just naming these people the same name. It's such a good movie, man. Oh my god, so silly. So I'm looking forward to it.
So I don't know. Like I said, there was such it has at the if you look back at like the cast list, it had an insane cast list. As I said, you have Ben Stiller there. You have his real life wife, Christina Taylor, who
Right.
played the love interest. As you said, rest in peace to Rip Thorne, who was hilarious. You all had other actors who are actually now like really like doing their thing. So I don't know or how that will work budget wise. I mean, you have Justin Long, who's still doing his thing in the industry. You have Stephen Root. You have Joel David Moore. Shout out to Joel because I
Mm-hmm.
moderated his panel a couple of years ago, and he was right now. He's doing movies. And then you also have Alan Tudyk, who's doing his thing. And I'm brain farting on the series right now on Sci-Fi Channel where he's playing an alien, but that show is hilarious as well. You know what show I'm talking about?
I have no idea what show you're talking about, but I just think that these guys and characters are funny. Vince Vaughn's kind of like been out of the limelight for 10 years, so it's good to see him. But you know, I'm just excited.
For sure. Resident Alien. Resident
That's
Alien
it.
is a show.
Yeah.
Resident Alien. So again, another show, guys, you gotta check out is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So, looking forward to seeing what they're able to do with it. Like I said, my only thing is just that idea that it's so tricky to do a sequel to a film, especially when there's
Right.
been a 20-year hiatus, and
Long time.
it's also difficult to do a sequel to a comedy. So, not only adding to the fact that it's been a 20-year gap, but also you're doing a sequel to, a well-loved comedy.
Right.
And will those still, those elements that you bring to the table still work, as comedy, is going to be quite the challenge I feel for them. And so, I'm looking forward to checking it out, but I am hesitantly excited because, again, there's been a 20-year gap and comedy sequels are not easy to do. So a
Not at
lot of
all.
times, they a lot of times fall flat in some cases. So,
Yeah. So we'll
anything
see.
else before we move on to our sports story?
Dodge, duck, duck, dick, dive, and dodge, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the 5 D's of dodgeball. Never forget them. That's it.
Very well, very well. All right, so getting into our next story, and this is a sports related story. I know we were talking about it last week and talking about some of the contracts that were going down, especially with Jalen Hurts, the historic contract there. Not to be outdone, Lamar Jackson received a massive contract he agreed to a massive contract over the course of this week. A deal for 260 million over a 5-year period, which dwarfs the contract that I had mentioned last week with Jalen Hurts by a couple of million. Um, Spillman, you hear the news of this historic, contract that Jackson has secured with the Baltimore Ravens, the extension. And what are your thoughts, sir?
As a Commanders fan, I'm very jealous that the Ravens have somehow managed to keep people, happy, spend their money the right way, not waste it, not like waste people being happy. This is big news for NFL players because we're getting so close to that guaranteed money for every contract, which they deserve. Because any other job that they tell you, oh, you can work here for 2 years, then you get hurt, gives you something. So that's good. $185 million is a crazy amount of money. It's a crazy amount of money. That's like a
Crazy.
very good Powerball or something. So
And the other tidbit of this is unlike with Hertz, who, had to have help, negotiating it with an agent, you know, apparently, like Jackson, he was able to do this on his own without the help of an agent. So
For
that
sure.
just means that he's going to get that much larger of a cut of this guaranteed money and not really have to not have to split it with anyone. So that's something I also wanted to add there, was is quite impressive.
For sure. I just think that Lamar deserves it. He was the MVP there. Um, he's the only reason why they've been making the playoffs the last couple of years. So pay him that money.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, the one thing that reason why I wanted to bring it up too is, we were talking about it, last week of, the fact that, we were having history being made, not just with a female agent who, was doing her thing in the industry, especially in the industry or part of the industry that there aren't a lot of females in. There is mostly, as I've been mentioned with my guest host last week, is predominantly male, and predominantly for a good period of time white males. So to be able to enter into that space where there isn't, you are breaking the mold of what folks expect out of in that industry, and to really do your thing of not only breaking the mold of who is in that industry, but also breaking the mold of being able to negotiate such a historic contract, is quite a feat. And to have the same thing happen here again, when we have just like we have with Jalen Hurts, we have another person of color, we have another black QB who is earning a historic contract in his is such an awesome thing to see, for sure. I'm gonna skip forward to our next story because I want to dig into this too. Unless you had any final thoughts regarding Lamar Jackson spills.
No, I'm just happy for Lamar. He got that bag. Good to see black quarterbacks getting that bag finally.
For sure.
Hopefully, they'll change the rules and make it easier to hurt him, so no one else will have to pay a quarterback like that. But he
For
deserves it
sure.
for sure.
For sure. All right. So this is a story that was out of Sports Illustrated, but it plastered throughout what we have here on ESPN or anywhere where you get your news. There has been more information that has come out regarding Kawhi Leonard. And if you guys, are not familiar, Kawhi Leonard, plays for the LA Clippers, who just recently had been, eliminated out of the NBA playoffs, out of the first round, making their exit. And the news being that Kawhi, who has historically been known as being injury prone, um, we there was additional information regarding what the specifics of that injury was, and it was regarding him getting a tear in his meniscus after game two in a series that they had played against the Phoenix Suns. So I was going to say spills. What are your thoughts on this news that we have with Kawhi Leonard, and just the latest in the injuries that he has attained over the course of his career? Huge talent, but again, another player who is very injury prone. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. I muted myself. But I would give Kawhi, it's sad that he hurt himself. I think he's got too much weight on his body personally. I think that his legs are too much. He's built his legs up too much, and that can be a problem if you're too heavy. Um, but a 50-40-90 guy, that's a good stat line. But I just, as a Laker fan, I mean, he is who we thought we were. He doesn't really show up when they need him to, which is in the playoffs, and they're paying him a boatload of money. So good riddance.
No, I
Whatever.
mean, I hear you. Like, here's the thing, and it's an unfortunate thing. It's the same way I feel about. I'm sorry about your boy AD. Is that just that idea that he's a terrific player, but again, is he sturdy enough or reliable enough to take you, to the finish line? And the
Exactly.
last couple of years, you he has been like, and the thing that's really unfortunate about it, and the thing that's really frustrating about it is that he's one of the primary players that a poster child for that idea of what is it of sitting out of games and
Hmm.
really trying to hold out for the postseason and to in order to load manage, that was the word I was looking for, to load manage, to be a poster child for load management and not come through when it's time to do so, because that's the very basis or the reason why you're load managing, and not even be able to follow through on the postseason. Is it is really worrisome, and so it begs the question of, if you are load managing, is there something else even more severe at play that's maybe not being shared regarding, you know, uh regarding Leonard's health, of his ability to be able to play through an entire season? Because one can arguably say, while you understand why a franchise would load manage, you could also say that that very thing, that load management, is not allowing, a player to develop the necessary endurance and the strength to be able to play through an entire season. If you're not allowing, I mean, you and I know this, as uh folks who play basketball, is in order to get that wind, that's that wind, so to speak, of having that endurance, you have to run it up and down that court. Like, you can't
That's
avoid
right.
that. You can't avoid it. You have to do it, otherwise your body won't adjust to being able to do that constantly. And
I
so
agree.
it's just a matter of, if I know for a good little while now, and this is talking about one of the players on with Steph Curry. Early in his career, he had a tendency to get he was getting a lot of injuries, if I recall, with like his ankles, a lot of ankle related injuries. And so
Yep.
eventually he had to train to ensure that he was exercising those muscles, to ensure that he was strengthening those muscles with his ankles, so that way he had a lower likelihood of getting those types of injuries. Like, if you're not maybe used to using those types of muscles, then you know that means that maybe you should do some exercises that are going to allow you to exercise those muscles that you don't frequently use. So that way, when it's time for the body to use those muscles, it's not such a, a shock to the system. And mind you, I'm not a sports doctor, but we're both athletes. We've both played, basketball competitively. We know, what it takes in order to be able to have your body ready to be in games.
Right.
So, oh, like, it just seems like the very thing that you're trying to do to prevent injury is actually causing your injuries. So,
You can't tempt the fates. You can't like you can't you can't not have a girlfriend and expect that your heart doesn't get broken. Because ultimately you're gonna break your heart. Yourself. You would need your girlfriend to do it. So I just think that these guys need to play more. They'd be in better shape. Their bodies wouldn't break down as easily, I feel like. They play more. So
for
let's
sure,
hope that they do something about it.
sure. All right. So, in our final story here at the finish line, and you guys You can see it here in our background, so I'll pull it up now. This week we did get a brand new trailer for Flash. And if you guys are aware, we do have some additional additions in this film with none other than our '89 Batman, Mr. Michael Keaton, and we also have Supergirl, popping up in there to give us, I guess, like, a alternate reality, Superman, to represent that universe that the Flash finds himself in, as he travels, through time. So Spills, you saw the trailer. There were a lot of callbacks of what we've enjoyed about, some of the other franchises, especially with Batman, because that you have that, yeah, you want to get nuts, let's get let's get nuts. Like, I was like, oh, okay, they did the line. I mean, we've had uh uh illustrations of that even in the prior trailer where he was like, I'm Batman. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on this current trailer, and does it make you any more excited or make you any less skeptical of whether or not you want to see this film?
I want to see this film because it looks pretty badass. Like the stuff looks cool. The costumes and set pieces look good on the movie. But I think that to me, I see that they got Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton will be fine. That would be great for storytelling. But if they continue on with what's his name, your boy Ben Affleck as Batman, I don't know if I'm gonna be watching too many more of these Batman movies because to me he's just a dude in a costume, and that's not enough of the Batman ethos for me. But I'm excited for this. It looks really cool. The visuals I've seen have been crazy. He's even had like he does callbacks and stuff. So I think it'll be a good film, but he's just this is Flash and it's the old I guess they call this the Snyderverse, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do have
Yeah,
the
so
Snyderverse with Ezra Miller,
hmm
but we do know, that James Gunn, once he wraps up with Guardians of the Galaxy, that he's gonna move full steam ahead with what he's doing with the DC universe. As we talked about this last week, is he's in pre-production with the new Superman, film that
hmm
he's doing for this current universe that he is putting together. And yeah, I mean, here's the thing: there's a lot of conflicted conflictions, or say there's a lot of conflicts that I have with this film. Initially, it's awesome to see us have a Flash film. Because I remember as we were going through the pandemic that I was like, okay, is this film ever going to get finished? Is it ever going to get done? Because they kept talking about, oh, we're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it. And I mean,
right,
understandably so, because of the pandemic and people, wanting to be safe, understandably so, it kept getting receiving delays. And I was like, okay, gosh, maybe this film, won't get off the ground.
right.
Um, but it did. But then, we had all of this, insanity with Ezra Miller, and like I was like, okay, how is this going to work? Like, how how would I feel about this under the circumstances with all the stuff that has been going on with that? And so it's unfortunate because like the film looks really good, and you want to be able to support the other people saying, to support the the efforts of everyone else involved, despite one of the artists that are in the film. And so everything that I've seen has been really exciting, and it's a bummer too because Batman holds a special place in my heart. I've shared it on on this show before. I'm aging myself was the very first movie I saw, like ever. So, it had an indelible, impact on me in terms of my movie going experience, in terms of, my enjoyment of seeing superhero movies. Like, all of it. Like, Michael Keaton as Batman, the Batman theme, that, the Batman merchandise, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, all of that stuff. So, I'm carrying all of that baggage with me from that being my first movie going experience into this film, because we have Michael Keaton as Batman in this film.
Yeah,
So, I'm excited about it in that respect and what they're planning on doing with it, with his character. But at the same time, again, we still have the Miller component in there. And so I guess just have to wait and see when I see the film, if I'm able to separate everything that I know that's going on, or everything that I know that has been shared about one of the one of his stars, and still be able to enjoy the film.
for
Um,
sure.
so if that's the case too, one thing that will kind of allow it to be easier, or allow me to be able to separate, is
All right. So it looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but this new Spider Verse movie. I'm sorry, not the. I'm sorry, the Flash. I'm sorry, the Flash movie. This new Flash movie is pretty good. I think it's going to be interesting. But to me, I think that you know, Warner Brothers is really lucky that Ezra didn't go to jail, because he'd never been able to work in this town again. So um, I think that we're just doing good, and the Flash that we could they could have lost Ezra, but they didn't. Um, and they also, because Ezra is so toxic, they went with this story where the main character or the protagonist is somebody who's sympathetic, and that's what I would, So I would describe as Michael Keaton. So they try to go with the mainstream stuff that all the internet people would like, stuff we've been talking about. I'm sure they're not going to use any of the Batman Beyond stuff, um, but I'm just I just really think that the Flash trailer, it looked badass. Like, it was very cool, looked very good. So I'm just excited for that.
for sure. For sure. So that, guys, is gonna wrap up what we have of this week in review.
Oh,
Um, I want to thank through, because I know he had a huge day. He was sharing with me of all the stuff that was happening throughout the day. So
oh,
appreciate you powering through, sir.
thank you.
Because I know you tired, man. I know you
I am
tired.
exhausted. I'm exhausted. I've been chasing my son around, ladies and gentlemen.
But
I've been to two
but
baseball
again,
games.
appreciate it.
Craziness.
Before I let you go, sir, can you tell folks where they can find you?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Please find me on Instagram at Truly Spill, and please look me up on there. Keep up with my adventures, and you can tell me about how your basketball team's not good as the Lakers. So,
Oh my
we know
gosh,
the
here we
Lakers are the
go.
best team in the league, and we probably gonna win championship this year, because it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun and Jack Nicholson is back and all is right with the world. So, it
Oh
is what it
man,
is. Let's
man.
do it.
Oh, again, I'm your host, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, Brandon Choi. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on Twitter, and also Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. Quick announcement, guys. Next week, we will, or say, I will be heading to another con, and that's none other than Contropolis, Pennsylvania. That's happening next week, so the 5th through the 7th. Doing a little bit of moderating, so be on the lookout, as I will share some of the cool stuff that will be, happening next week with some of the guests. And then we'll also, have the show. So I'll comment on, how the show is going via this week in review. So be on the lookout for that. So other than that, I am your host, Brandon Choi, again, co-creator of Moves and Shakers Unlimited. Of course, got Spills right here. Thank you
Five
guys so much
stars.
for watching. Be safe out there, guys, and see you soon. Peace.
Peace. 5 stars. 5 stars.